So this one's going to be a tad bit different than what I'm used to doing in terms of this channel and some videos. I'm not going to be doing any landscape photography today. Actually, I'm going to be testing out an old film camera that my Uncle Mike gave to me. Thanks again, Uncle Mike. And here it is. It is a Spartus Press Flash Camera. Just doing some research on it, I'd never heard of it before. It was the first camera to make it affordable for folks, you know, everyday folks like me, to be able to afford flash cameras, flash photography. It takes a big old flash bulb. I don't know anything about big old flash bulbs, but it takes one. If you had a battery that worked on it, it would fire it up, and it's great. But it's really just a really basic camera. It's just an old box camera. They started making them in 1939, I believe. They discontinued them in 1950. And it shoots 120 film, which is cool because you can still get 120 film quite readily available. Just anywhere you can buy film at probably has 120 film, roll film, which is, again, that's awesome. I think, just based on my own reading of it, it's got a shutter speed of about 1/70th of a second, which is not very fast. It's got a little lever on the side of it you can pull out to give you a super bright aperture of f/16, or you can push it in to give you a less bright aperture of f/22. And if you're not very familiar with aperture settings, f/16 doesn't let in very much light, and f/22 lets in less light than that. So I'm going to need to be able to shoot in a sunny day, on a sunny day, with plenty of available light, which hopefully that's what I'm going to do today. It's early December. Sunset's super early, like around 5:15 p.m. right now. I don't get off work until 4. Where I'm going is about a 20 to 30 minute drive. So it's going to be probably around 4:20, 4:30 by the time we get out here to where I'm going to shoot at, which is going to be downtown Hazard, Kentucky. It's where I kind of grew up. So it's cool. I don't go to downtown Hazard a whole lot. I go to Hazard a lot, just not the downtown area a ton. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to see really what are those first 2 frames more than anything else. I don't know anything about the history of this camera. I'm not too excited about what else I'm going to get in Hazard. The film, or the lens I should say, is it's a wee bit foggy. So couple that with expired film. I don't know how the camera was stored, probably in a closet somewhere. So I don't know how much degradation the film has undergone. So yeah, hopefully there's a couple of shots in those first 2 frames that's going to make something at least kind of interesting. We'll see. I'll see you again when I'm in Hazard. Hello there, and pardon the intrusion. I feel like this is as good a time as any to let you know that the plan was to basically go around, walking around Main Street Hazard with the camera. Whenever you heard the shutter click, I would show you the image. Unfortunately, it did not work out that way. So the film in the camera, which I estimate was probably from the early 1960s, had just degraded too much. So I was only able to get 2 images off the entire roll, one of which I made in Hazard, and you'll see in a second, and the other one was actually already on the film. So the eagle-eyed among you may notice that I actually switched to a different camera about a minute in to shooting in downtown Hazard. It's actually with this camera, the little Nikon FG. But I can at least show you those images. So at one point I'll switch to the Nikon and you'll see those images as I take them. But without further ado, that is all of them. That was interesting. Well, I found out something about that Spartus Press Flash Camera that I was unaware, that I did not see in the manual. It does not take 6x6. It takes 6x7. If it's not square medium format, what is it, 6x7? I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So we only had 8 shots total on that roll. So I got 6. No, I blew one on the third one, so I got 5, I guess. Holy crap, look at all them cats. So I got 5 shots on that roll. And who knows if any of them's going to turn out anyway. We'll take it back home, drop it in some developer, and see. Meanwhile, I shot a few shots on that Nikon FG, which is a fantastic little SLR. It's quite a nice one. But anyway, I will see you again while I'm developing, I guess. See how that goes. So that was a little bit of fun for me. And as you may have noticed at the end of developing, there actually was an image that was already on the film by the time I got a hold of it. And here it is. So I don't know much about this photo at all. I don't know the people that are in it. My aunt and uncle that gave me the camera, they don't know either. They have an idea, but they can't really say for sure. So if you actually recognize these people, let me know. I'll be happy to send the full resolution scan over and to anybody in the family who may want it. It was really kind of a bummer that I wasn't able to get anything else off this roll of film. Every now and then I'll get an old camera like this and I'll have old film on it. This is the first time that I've actually been able to develop something and actually pull an image off from the past. So like I said, I think this image is probably made in the early 60s, just based on the film that was in it. Like I said, this is it was a roll of Kodak Verichrome 120 black and white film. And here's the paper backing from it that I got in developing. And when I was reading a little bit about this particular film, I believe it was started making in the late 50s. And one thing I came across noted that there's a little address sticker on it that Once it's exposed, you can write on it who it belongs to, and send it off for developing or whatever. And one thing I came across noted that the sticker here, if it's from the early 60s, it won't have a zip code on it. This didn't have a zip code on it. So I'm just going by that, if that's accurate at all. That film came from the 60s, so this image probably was from that time frame as well. So it's a good well, 60 years old, more than likely, which is amazing. That I think it's amazing that it held up as well as it did, and then I was able to pull it off and scan it. It looks as good as it does, considering who knows how it was stored for all those years. But about the camera itself, I think it's a really interesting model of camera. Just a really all-out effort to make flash photography affordable. So there aren't a lot of bells and whistles at all of this camera. It's pretty bare bones, so there's not a lot of fussing. You don't have to know a whole lot about photography to work it. This particular copy, though, it's not in terrible shape. More than likely, and you probably saw from the images I made in Hazard, there's a pretty significant light leak in it, which was not surprising considering I don't think the back goes flush here. It makes a good seal. The lens itself, like I mentioned earlier in the car, it's pretty foggy. But the good news is I think that this particular camera probably comes apart pretty easily because there's not a lot of bells and whistles. There's not a lot of features to it, and it's easy to clean. So I think it may be worth it, to me anyway, to go ahead and try that and take it apart a little bit and clean it. Maybe get the lens defogged, so to speak, and cleaned up. So the flash, though, is not going to work, I don't believe. Once you take the back of it off, you can see the battery in it, and it's really, really corroded. It won't come out. It's I'd say the connections on it are corroded as well, and they're not going to be very conductive. But yeah, I'll be interested to run a roll of film through this that's not expired. I've got some Tri-X on the shelf here that I think will work pretty well. So I've had a bit of a hankering to shoot some film anyway, which is why I even had the little Nikon SLR in the bag. To begin with, I'd loaded it up with some Kentmere 100 black and white film, which is interesting. I actually forgot to set the film speed on the camera. So I was shooting 100 speed film at 400. So in order to develop that and get the correct exposure, I had to push it by a couple stops and develop it at 400. It's not ideal. I don't have a lot of experience in pushing film, but it worked out in some of the images that you saw. The exposure was pretty well correct, I think. It looked okay. Anyway, yeah, I've really wanted to start shooting some film. And while the landscape here in Appalachia is a little drab right now in mid-December, maybe it'd be a good time to acquiesce to that urge and do a little shooting. And loading some 120 up in that Spartus Press Flash Camera may do me some good. But anyway, I really appreciate you sticking around as long as you have. If you have any comments, leave them. Appreciate it. Give us a like and a subscribe. That would be great too. Anyway, I'll catch you next time.